Hello, listener, and welcome to Book 3, Chapter 6 of Bite-Sized Tales, the audio flash fiction podcast. In today's story, in today's essay, we discuss a very special love-hate relationship. My Friend and My Enemy, written and read by Chris Hussey. There are many things I truly love in this world, from friends to family to certain aspects of my job to all manner of activities in every season. And then the activities that can occur in any season. I mean, it's hard to beat a great night on the couch with friends or a loved one watching a favorite movie. Whether it's one you quote or one you have never seen before, but it's something you'll never forget. And of course, food. I mean, everyone has their favorite dishes and flavors and tastes. But if there's one thing I have to admit that I love and hate in equal measure, it's my game shelf. And I can't think of a time when either feeling was stronger than the other. It's always been this frustrating equal balance. Allow me to explain. My shelf has taken many forms over the years. I've had the cheap, big box store-bought bookshelf, you know the kind. The ones where the wood grain is really just a mediocre sticker. The kind of shelf where each shelf starts to bow under the weight of my game books after maybe 9 months, if we're lucky. Hardcover, softcover, doesn't matter. They all bow under that weight. I've had the rummage sale shelves where I have several smaller shelf units that almost match, but yet don't. Maybe one is slightly taller or shorter than the others, or the trim is a bit different or slightly scuffed. And, of course, the colors don't match at all. But I've had them, and I've told myself the lie that they look great. Then there's the college dorm-style bookshelves. The ones you make out of 2x4s and cinder blocks. Now, this type of game shelf is tricky because, from a strength perspective, they can be very helpful, providing a shelf thickness factor, an STF for those in the know, that's significant. Unless, of course, your board run between cinder blocks is too long, then those bad boys will bow just as bad as the cheap shelves. Then there's also the issue of appearance. While certainly functional, board and block shelves just don't look good if you are anywhere north of 27 years old. Not to mention, these shelves have no back, meaning you have to use a wall as your back. Plus, the cinder blocks aren't too kind to whatever book ends up on the end of that shelf. Which means if you care about your game books, you'll be putting up cardboard pieces to act as a protective barrier. And that only adds to their shoddy appearance. Eventually, however, every gamer grows up enough to the point where they finally invest in a proper shelving unit. Something with solid shelves and a passable metal structure. Something with strength and style that not only holds your books well, but looks good doing it to boot. And no matter what phase of shelf you may find yourself in, there is always that one constant of both loving and hating your game shelf. Even when you have the really nice and stylish version. In fact, that feeling is probably the strongest when you finally own that shelf you love. Allow me to continue to explain. And let me narrow the focus specifically on role-playing games here. While a game shelf does, at its core, represent a way to store all your role-playing and or board games, there is that additional factor of display. Any gamer worth their salt takes great pride in arranging their games and or game books on that shelf. We could get into an entire gentle discussion of arranging game books by product number, size, genre, consistency, or any number of additional ways of layouts. It's very much akin to how old-school vinyl record lovers go about setting up their cache. Artist, year, purchase date, emotional impact, emotional journey. The list goes on and on. You get the idea. It's in this display that the gamer truly falls in love with their games. They loved them before, But when they are set up on that shelf, in that proper order and scheme, the love goes deep, really deep. Because it's not just love of the beauty of the display and the organization, it's the love of the potential. Each game and each book within that game is a bastion of near infinite ideas and possibilities. They represent hours and hours of time well spent with friends, constructing stories and exploring worlds. Some of these worlds are developed, giving you everything you need to unearth the story within, gorging yourself on the feast of ideas written down, just waiting to have your eyes roam across the pages, absorbing the tale told by another, but yet waiting to be experienced by you. Other books give you just enough of a foundation for you to formulate your own story. Everything to tell and shape the tale you didn't even realize was roaming invisibly inside your brain, desperate and waiting to be detected by your own internal sensors, captured and called to the forefront of your mind to obsess over and get excited utterly out of proportion to your friends and companions that you get to share this with. And yet, that's where the hate portion of this equation enters the scene, because as your thoughts careen over the imagined landscape of all that beautiful potential, the reality of real life reminds you of exactly how much of the wonderful tales lodged inside those beautiful pages you'll truly be allowed to explore. As your eyes dance across each shelf, reading the spine of each tome, two spiritual beings rest upon each shoulder. One is filled with enthusiasm and recalls all the pieces and parts of the book and feeding you ideas or even memories of past ideas you've had for engaging with that book and your friends. And on the other shoulder, you are reminded of all of your commitments, responsibilities, and duties. And to be fair to this spirit, it's not malicious nor mean. It is merely practical, a matter-of-fact being, a specter to keep you grounded in the world where you live, not the mystical or far future alien world you desire to visit. And maybe hate is too strong of a word. Maybe the real word is frustration or disappointment, or some other emotion that's the antithesis of the profound joy and bliss you experience when contemplating what could be. However, if you are careful and patient and methodical, bit by bit, month by month, and game by game, you can find the time and the willingness of friends to say yes to some of these opportunities and visit these places, play these games, and tell these stories like you used to in your youth, but at a more measured pace, a satisfying pace. A pace that is a compromise between those two phantasms, which, it should be said, are not enemies. In fact, they are the greatest of friends. Friends who want nothing but the best for you and your well-being. Friends who don't want you to have a love-hate relationship with your gaming shelf. They'd much rather have you have a respect and appreciation for everything it's done for you. Author's note. This essay, because I really consider it more of an essay than a story, so to speak, so please permit me and forgive me to do this. The inspiration for this sort of really came from me finding myself staring at my game shelf and all the games that are there, both played and unplayed, and realizing that the shelf that I own, this is the nicest one that I've ever had. I've entered that last phase that I described in there, which then made me think about all the other types of shelves that I've had, which of course then ballooned into a much broader thought about this story, or this essay. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope that if you are a role-playing gamer, or any type of person who has anything on a shelf, that you do find the time or make the time to get to play it. Thanks for listening. This chapter of Bite Size Tales has been brought to you under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Intro and outro music is Fantasy Motion by Alexander Nakarada, provided under a Creative Commons 4.0 license. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we greatly appreciate reviews and recommendations to your friends. For more information about our authors, please visit bitesizedtales.com. We look forward to reading to you next time.